Resuming debate, the honourable member for St. Albert Edmonton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to speak to Bill C-65, an act to amend the Canada Elections Act. I listened attentively to the Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader in his speech, and he characterized the bill as good stuff and suggested that at the end of the day Conservatives would support the bill. I can assure him that what is in the bill isn't good stuff, and Conservatives will not be supporting Bill C-65. There are problems with this bill, putting aside the pension issue, which I will get into later. There are amendments that we cannot support. For example, one of the amendments provided for in the bill is with respect to special ballot voting, whereby a voter would be able to mark their ballot by filling in their preferred political party as opposed to their preferred candidate. This raises constitutional questions. Under our Constitution, there are multiple references to members, individuals being elected to the House of Commons. In contrast, there is not a single reference to political parties in our Constitution. And that is because in Canada, we elect individuals to the House of Commons. We do not elect political parties. This amendment completely upends that. And I would submit that it is arguable that the amendment is unconstitutional, but at the very best, it is problematic. For instance, if it were to be adopted, what is to say that another amendment could be made to the Canada Elections Act whereby the names of individual candidates are removed altogether and that Canadians would simply mark their ballot by filling in their preferred political party. Another problematic amendment to the Canada Elections Act provided for in the bill relates to assisting voters marking in their ballot. As it stands today, a voter who requires assistance may receive assistance from an individual who may help them mark in their ballot. Now, such an individual may only help one voter in an election, and there must be some personal connection between the voter and the individual assisting them. This legislation removes both of those criteria. Under this bill, an individual would be able to help an unlimited number of voters mark in their ballot, notwithstanding any connection of any sort between the person assisting and the elector. And I would submit that this, on its face, raises questions of potential abuse, and therefore I would suggest that this amendment be carefully scrutinized at committee. With respect to the third-party financing regime, this bill is a step in the right direction, but is inadequate. It is a step in the right direction insofar as it makes an important step forward with respect to financing during the pre-election and election periods. It appears that the objective with respect to the changes to third-party financing is that third parties, in terms of the expenditures that they make during those periods, are raised from funds donated by individual Canadian contributors in the same way as political parties must raise donations from individual Canadians. The problem is that it doesn't entirely close a long-standing loophole whereby third parties can use contributions made from foreigners, foreign funds, to influence elections. And I have to ask why it is that these Liberals haven't seen fit to close that loophole. We know that during the 2015 election, millions and millions of dollars were funneled from U.S.-based organizations, including the U.S. Tides Foundation, to registered third parties who ran a coordinated campaign to defeat Conservatives to the benefit of the Liberal Party. And after 9 years of this Prime Minister, we have seen a Prime Minister and a government that have a deeply troubling record of turning a blind eye to foreign interference and even being complicit with foreign interference, whether that foreign interference emanates from Beijing or from the U.S., so long as it benefits the Liberal Party. And I have to say, I can't help but wonder that the reason that the Liberals have not fully closed this foreign money loophole with respect to third-party financing is because they see it as a loophole that benefits them electorally. And, Madam Speaker, I could go on talking about other aspects of this bill and problems with this bill, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because this bill is not an elections bill. That's not what this bill is about. It's a pension bill. It's the Loser Liberal Pension Protection Act. That's what this bill is, under the guise of an elections bill. And, by the way, this government isn't fooling anyone. To put it in some context, Madam Speaker, we have a deeply, deeply unpopular Prime Minister and government that is on the verge of facing a massive electoral defeat whenever they have the guts to call the next election. And what that means, of course, is that many of these Liberals sitting across the way aren't going to be here after the next election. Now, they have to call an election by October 20th, 2025. But the problem that they have is that the Liberals who were elected in 2019, many of whom faced almost certain defeat, don't qualify for their pension. So what do these Liberals do? They introduce the Loser Liberal Pension Protection Act so that they push back the election date so that all of a sudden these soon-to-be loser Liberals will pad their pockets with a pension. It is about as cynical and about as dishonest as it gets from arguably one of the most cynical and dishonest governments that has ever governed this country. And it is an absolute abuse of the legislative power of this government. And you know what? It constitutes this government, yet again, giving everyday Canadians, as they do every day, the middle finger, as they pad their pockets while they, after 9 years, have pummeled everyday Canadians and made life less affordable, and have caused enormous hurt and pain for Canadians. So, no, contrary to the representation of a member for Winnipeg North, Conservatives will not be supporting the Loser Liberal Pension Protection Act. And with that, I will be moving, seconded by the member for Calgary-Shepherd, the following: that the motion be amended by deleting all the words after the word "that" and substituting the following: the House declined to give second reading to Bill C-65, an act to amend the Canada Elections Act, as the bill delays the next election so that more departing members of Parliament can collect taxpayer-funded pensions, a measure that is particularly offensive at a time when Canadians are struggling due to the NDP Liberal government's inflation, carbon tax, and housing costs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. Order. Mr. Cooper, seconded by Mr. Kamick, moves the following amendment, that the motion be amended by deleting all the words after the word that and substituting the following. The House declined to give a second reading to Bill C-65, an act to amend the Canada Elections Act as the bill delays the next federal election so that more departing members of Parliament can collect taxpayer-funded pensions, a measure that is particularly offensive at a time when Canadians are struggling due to the NDP Liberal government's inflation carbon tax and housing costs. L'amendement est recevable.
The amendment is in order.